On September 11th, 2001, the skies over the United States were abruptly sealed. More than 4,300 aircraft, many already airborne, were diverted mid-flight. Commercial pilots received terse instructions. If you're in the air, turn around or find safe landing, but under no circumstance should you cross into US airspace. But not everyone shut their doors. Canada responded differently, launching a national emergency response known as Operation Yellow Ribbon. It wasn't just about grounding planes, it was about absorbing shock with compassion. While US airspace was closed, Canada opened 17 airports to take in US-bound aircraft, offering safe harbour to planes with nowhere else to go. Among them, one small airport became the face of something much bigger. Gander International Airport, a Cold War-era stopover, suddenly became one of the busiest places on Earth. In a single day, 38 planes landed, carrying 6,122 passengers and 473 crew into a town of fewer than 10,000 people. The math didn't make sense, but the humanity did. Without being told, the people of Gander stepped forward. Schools became shelters, churches opened their doors, locals pulled spare bedding from closets, brought food and medicine, not out of duty, but instinct. They didn't wait for permission, they simply responded. For 5 days, Gander became a miniature world, one shaped by fear, grief, and uncertainty, but also quiet dignity. That moment later inspired the Broadway musical Come From Away. But this wasn't theatre. This was real. It was the moment Canada's reputation for kindness became more than just branding. It became memory. And that instinct, it didn't disappear. In the 2 decades since, immigration has not just increased, it has defined Canada's economic architecture. Today, nearly 20% of Canada's population is foreign-born, a figure set to rise to nearly 1/3 by 2040. In 2024 alone, Canada accepted nearly 500,000 newcomers. That figure may stabilise between 394,000 and 500,000 annually through 2027. But the trend is locked in. Immigration isn't temporary relief, it's the scaffolding of Canada's future. But beneath these policy announcements, something quieter is happening. Something not written in immigration reports or political speeches. It shows up in grocery store lines that move slower because the cashier is translating prices. It shows up in buses crowded past capacity in the early morning because shift workers can't afford to live closer to the city centre. It shows up in apartment buildings where degrees hang unused on walls while parents clean offices at night. Because for many immigrants, integration isn't instant. It's layered, costly, and long. And yet, despite housing shortages, underemployment, language barriers, and rising costs, people stay. They stay not because Canada is perfect, but because here, despite the cracks, the ceiling is still higher. Across Canada, entire cities now operate on the fuel of immigrant labour. From Toronto to Vancouver, from Calgary to Ottawa, immigrants are not separate from the economy. They are the economy. They teach, they code, they drive trucks, they build condos, they wire money back to their families while still building futures for their children here. The factories of the past have been replaced by tech hubs and service economies. And immigrants didn't just follow that change, they accelerated it. In cities like Calgary, once dominated by oil and gas, startups now thrive on the labour and ingenuity of people who speak multiple languages, adapt fast, and carry intergenerational urgency. In Montreal, neighbourhoods hum with informal economies, cleaning services, tutoring, tailoring, ride-sharing. In Vancouver, migrants navigate some of the world's most unaffordable housing markets, while still showing up at warehouses and kitchens to keep the economy moving. But not all systems are adapting at the same pace. The wealth gap is now vertical. In many urban cores, you'll find luxury towers with concierge services rising above basement units where refugee families figure out their first winter. One child attends private school upstairs. Another takes a city bus at 5:30 a.m. to attend an overcrowded public school miles away. Both live in the same building, but not the same Canada. That quiet inequality, rarely televised, often ignored, is the friction of growth. And yet, the social fabric holds. On certain streets, you'll find falafel shops run by Syrian families, beside Filipino-run bakeries, beside Polish delis. There's no marketing brochure for this. It's just what happens when people are given the smallest shot to start over. These neighbourhoods don't have slogans, but they function. And in many ways, they reflect the new Canadian reality more than downtown office towers do. The question isn't just whether Canada is welcoming. It's whether the systems built around that welcome are keeping up. Because immigration without infrastructure creates strain. And when cities grow faster than their schools, buses, and hospitals, frustration festers. Not just among locals, but among the very immigrants who were told this place had room for them. Canada's immigration model is often praised as merit-based, structured, and points-driven. But real life doesn't unfold like an application form. A skilled engineer may drive Uber for 3 years before qualifying for local credentials. A nurse may clean homes before she can practice medicine. A teacher may stack shelves at midnight. And through all of this, life still moves forward. Weddings happen, babies are born, relatives arrive, a second language becomes a first, dreams shrink to fit reality, and then slowly expand again. And while politicians debate caps and quotas, immigrants continue to show up at 5 a.m. for jobs no one else wants. Because at the heart of it, immigration isn't about charity, it's about contribution. The Canadian economy doesn't run on policy alone. It runs on sweat, on midnight shifts, on resumes rewritten 3 times, on taxi drivers with PhDs, on young students translating for their parents at the doctor's office, on sacrifice repeated again and again in 100 different languages. In Gander, they once said, "You don't need to know someone to care for them." That spirit didn't die with the planes taking off. It lives on in the labour that keeps Canada going, not just through crisis, but through every quiet, necessary day. Immigration may be a political flashpoint in other parts of the world, but in Canada, it's already the backbone. Not flawless, not frictionless, but real, and for millions, that's enough.